Hello everyone, Melanie here. Okay, this video is a little bit more serious, but one of you reached out to me and asked me this question, and we started having a conversation about it as I was giving him some HR advice. Things don't always go smoothly when you're working on a job, and there are times when you're hoping things are going to go one way and they go a different way. And you may find yourself in a situation where you're actually going to be terminated from a position. Terminated not because you did anything wrong, but because there's some other drama going on in the workplace. And you're worried that you're going to be unfairly terminated. Well, the first thing that I want to tell you is depending on what country you live in, there are different employment laws that help to protect you. And it can be very, very helpful to report things before you actually have that termination meeting if you feel like it's going down that path. Let's say that you don't get the opportunity to report it before. Can you report afterwards? You can, but I want to discuss with you an option of what you can do during a termination meeting if they're calling you in to do that, as opposed to just sitting there and letting them terminate you. So one of the biggest questions for those of you that are job seekers, you probably know, is you're constantly asked, sometimes in writing, sometimes in person, have you ever been terminated or asked to resign from a position? And if you say yes, I have been terminated, it automatically, you start getting all these questions from HR and recruiters and the hiring. Why were you terminated? Well, what did you do wrong? They want to know. And they're not talking about terminated where you were laid off, right? They're talking about terminated for cause. But right or wrong, the second you have to say yes to that question, you start to get people start questioning the rest of you, and they really want to dig in and know. And yes, people who are listening and will take the time to treat you as they should treat you as a candidate and say, tell me and help me understand. If it's a reasonable story, they're going to be most likely okay with it, right? The issue, though, still is not everybody's reasonable, and we know job seekers, not everybody treats you the way that you should be treated. So if you can get away, you don't want to have to answer that question as a yes. So in this scenario, this person was actually just working a temporary job, and it was not going well because somebody else was hired and was trying to take this person out. And so this person had great performance and everything, but they were doing things difficult in order for this person to be able to come in and work and be happy in their job. And so they scheduled a meeting with this person in HR and the hiring manager. And this person felt really certain that they were going to be terminated during this meeting. They were pretty certain about it. And so they asked me, what do I think they should do? Well, this person happened to be in the US, right? So US laws. And you can still get unemployment in the US even if you resign, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute. We have videos on that. It depends on the scenario. But what I told them to do is, if you think you are in a no-win situation and you do not want to have a termination on your record from something that is a temporary role like this, what I recommended is don't sit down. When you walk into that meeting with HR and the hiring manager, the second you sit down, they're going to start talking. What I recommended instead is, when you enter the room and the door is closed, say what you want to say first before you sit down. And in this case, I gave her a bunch of options, and she chose to say that she was going to resign from the position because of constructive discharge. Now, in this case, she was able to say those words. I feel at this point in time, I have no other option but to resign from my position because of constructive discharge. Da, da, da. And at that point, with her doing that, the company can't go back and say you're terminated, because they didn't terminate her. She resigned while she was still an active full-time employee. Well, temporary, but still an employee. So they can't go change her record to say that she was terminated from this role. If they did, heaven help them, because she could probably go back and sue them for that. So if you feel like you are in a no-win situation and you feel like they're going to terminate you fairly unfairly, if you can't report it and you're walking into that meeting and you would rather resign rather than have that termination on your record, the trick of how to do it is you have to get it out first. Don't sit down. Stand, walk in the room, stay standing, say what you need to say, and then let them have their opportunity. They can't terminate you if you've already resigned. Now, if you're curious more about this, put some comments below. I will do my best to reply to them. If you feel like you are being treated unfairly in the workplace, whether before or after termination, there are hopefully every country has some type of organization that helps. Like in the US, we have the EEOC that is there for you as an employer. We don't have unions the same way in all jobs in the US as they do in other countries. Other countries have work councils. There are avenues for you. And worst case scenario, go talk with an employment attorney. Describe your case, see if they will take it as well. All right, you're not alone out there. I know it can be difficult because you can't always go to inside HR. There are lots of us HR people out here that are willing to give you some advice, as well as some HR attorneys if you'd even like to go to an HR attorney. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.